The next 2 hours I have got scheduled aside for my friend Barry Strohm and his wife Connie. Barry, if you guys remember, folks remember, we had him on several months ago.
Yeah.
Barry, and time just goes so quick. And we're going to talk about his work, and we'll let him start from scratch for the people that didn't hear about his experience and his life-changing. I'd say life-changing is a good thing.
That's
his life-changing experience.
That's one way to describe it, absolutely.
And he has a very unique store, an antique store in Pennsylvania. And we're going to talk about that because it's a little bit more than a store with some of the things that go on. So again, Barry and Connie, thank you so much for taking the time to... You're in town here for a little bit. Thanks for coming by and spending a couple hours with us here.
Hey, I've been looking forward to it.
So why don't you give our listeners a little bit of background about yourself and kind of what happened to you and where you are today and your, I would say this is your new path in life, life-changing.
There's no question about that. Absolutely none. No, I started out as a total non-believer, scientific background, business management degree, civil engineering license, minor statistics, minor in geology, worked in construction, stone quarry business all my life. Mm-hmm. Absolutely had no idea.
No time for craziness.
No time for craziness. This crap we work with, just so you know. I spent my time laughing at people like me right now, all through the years. But about 25 years ago, I bought this old abandoned warehouse in Pennsylvania, 30,000 square foot. We fixed it up for antique gallery. Through the years, I had a staff working for me. They would tell me about all this weird stuff going on in the store, and I'd say, yeah, right. We haven't quite legalized marijuana in Pennsylvania yet, so, but we do have whiskey, and I'm sure you're drinking that to come up with these stories. And then about 8-10 years ago, the economy turned, so we had to go back and spend more time in the building and realized that a lot of the things we're telling us we're on the up and up. It's absolutely an amazing building. If you have any interest in spirits, we have about all you can handle in there.
They're there. Well, and again, and we talked about that the first time you were on the program, and we're going to talk about your books and everything here tonight. But again, there are so many people that I don't want to say they're non-believers, but so many people are the show me type, show me the proof. And then they have an experience or they have an encounter that changes their life forever. And again, I think it's good to talk to people like yourself who maybe is not necessarily a skeptic, but is skeptical or has been skeptical through life. And we hear about these different things that have happened. And then when they happen to us, it's not so crazy anymore. And it sounds like you've been able to put two and two together, and that's very interesting.
Well, let me do a quick tale about
Sure.
what really turned me.
Sure.
Things were happening in the store. So I had a friend that had a paranormal investigative group. So we brought him in one night, and we had about 20 investigators in the store, and we actually had 2 mediums along with us. And we broke up into groups, turned the lights off, and I'm in a far corner of the store, and I'm associated with one of the mediums. And all of a sudden, she says that I'm hearing the name of a girl, of a child, and she's saying her name's Clarissa. And I'm saying, okay. I had a K2 meter in my hand. I don't know if you listeners are familiar. K2 picks up EMF energies. If the spirit gets close, sometimes they can make the thing blink on and off. So she says, I'm hearing a name, and she's speaking very clearly, and she's telling me she wants to show us all her pink doll. I'm thinking, this is really getting weird. So you're not hearing anything, are you? No.
You're just standing there, and this person is telling you
this clairvoyant is telling me the mental messages that she's getting.
Gotcha.
About this.
Okay.
So I had this K2 in my hand, so I said, well, Clarissa, would you like to show me your pink doll? And all of a sudden, the damn meter in my hand starts to blink back and forth rapidly. And I said, Clarissa, do you think you can make it blink once for yes? And can you make it blink once for no? Or twice for no? Blinks once. I said, okay. Would you like us to go look for your doll? Blinks once for yes. We start across the store. We come to the first aisle. Clarissa, should I turn here? Blinks once or twice for no. Go to the next aisle. Blinks twice again for no. Come to the third aisle, and it blinks once for yes. So we make this left turn, start down the aisle, and we lose touch with her. The medium can't talk to her. I mean, she's just totally gone. So that was pretty weird. So about 15 minutes later, we're taking a break, and I'm walking back through the store. I turned the lights on, and I come to the area where we had lost it, and I look up, and the case where we left her was standing this little pink doll. She had actually taken us about 150 foot to the store with 3 commands on a K2 meter and took us directly to where this pink doll was sitting in the case.
Wow.
And I purchased the doll, and I have it on display now at the store, and she still frequents it.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yep.
So that was kind of...
that was an eye-opener.
Okay.
Yep, that was a good start.
So then what happened from there? Did you have more investigations?
Well, I became fascinated with photography. For a couple years in the past, Connie and I did some professional animal photography. So I started taking pictures, and I started getting all these images of orbs with faces in and all sorts of stuff in the store. And one thing led to another, and the store is 8 miles from the Gettysburg battlefield. I started going out on the battlefield to take pictures. And then I started getting some really amazing stuff. So this thing turned into like this obsession. And for the next couple of years, I took over 60,000 pictures at night on the Gettysburg battlefield.
Really?
In preparation for, and from those photographs, I did my first book, which was called Haunting and History of the Battle of Gettysburg. Put about 220 pictures in that book.
So what were you picking up in those photos, Barry? What was coming through on those?
Full-bodied apparitions, all half-bodied apparitions, floating heads,
wow.
A lot of different things that people wouldn't expect. I don't know if people believe in fairies, but
they were there.
They were there. I have about 100 pictures of them.
So now, when you were there taking the photos, there was nothing. Was this at nighttime you were taking?
Yeah,
this?
all at night. I would start at about twilight, and I would shoot multiple cameras. I'd always have 3 cameras with me, and we'd shoot different variations of flash. Sometimes I'd do full spectrum with infrared, and everything was different. And some nights you would get a couple good photographs. Some nights you wouldn't get anything. If you went out and photographed on a night after a major thunderstorm where there's a lot of energy in the air, you get tons of activity.
But you wouldn't see nothing with the naked eye, though, correct? Or did you sometimes?
When I started, I didn't. But okay. By the time I'd spent so much time out there, at the end, I started seeing things.
Because I know I've had different people on the program over the years, and they talk about, even at Valley Forge, where they see people, they thought they were reenactments. People dressed up in full uniform, color, everything. I mean, they thought they were people doing some sort of reenactment out in the distance, and then turn around and they're gone.
Yeah, that's not a reenactment. That's actually a whole channel of the unknowing dead that are still out there.
Right. But I mean, people, that's what they think they're seeing.
Yes.
And they realize it's there, and then it's not there anymore.
Now, as you learn to relax your mind and to open your mind to these things, if you don't believe, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You will never see anything, because the spirits understand a non-believer and they pull away. Once you start to open your mind and they understand totally that you do believe in this, you'll be amazed at what comes to you.
So were you closed-minded for a long time, and then what? And then this event changed your mind?
Well, after the Clarissa thing, I turned my mind very rapidly to it, because we had multiple things started happening in the store. They were actually trying to introduce themselves to me at the store. Once we learned how to use a ghost box, mm-hmm. which is a rapid scanner, mm-hmm. AM scanner, then we would have sessions at the store where we talked to them. We would have as many as 25, 30 responses from a single spirit on the ghost box. So we have some very, very strong ghosts there that know how to use this thing.
Now, I did ask you when we had our interview before, the building. Have you dug into the history of your building, and did anybody get hurt there? Did anybody get killed there? Did you go through and do a historical analysis of what happened there over the years? Obviously, it's a very old building.
Yes, the building dates back to 1877, in the initial part of it. It was a shoe factory. We were actually in a little town in New Oxford, and it was very important in the early shoe industry, turn of the century and on. They actually made shoes in the building until 1971 when they went out of business. The building sat for almost 20 years vacant until I purchased it and converted it to an antique gallery. So they have a lot of the early equipment of that time. You know, they had kids working on it. It was small. I'm sure many people were hurt in the store. But the spirits that we have are not spirits that were killed there. As we progressed and we learned to actually do our channeling and to speak to them, we found out that we still have 8 employees that work there.
The shoe factory.
In the shoe factory. They told us their names, and we asked them why they're still there. And their answer was that everybody was such like a great big family, and that they just enjoy being there, and they still come back, and the spirits come back and reunite after all this time at the store.
Huh. Wow. Have you seen apparitions of these people in your store?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not only have I seen apparitions, Mother's Day I came into the store to open up in the morning. I had laid my computer on my chair, and I heard all this mechanical noise, and I thought, it was really very loud. I thought somebody had left the fan on in the bathroom. So I walk around, all the fans are turned off, and I listen, and it was the sound of the spindles of the sewing machines making shoes. And it was just, the sound was as loud as if that equipment was sitting in the next room making shoes.
Really?
Yeah.
But there's nothing there.
Nothing there. Total residual haunting.
Wow. Any of this ever scare you?
No. Everybody talks. We feel very well protected in our belief structure. If you have a very strong belief structure, you are protected. You have angels that protect you. I've actually photographed 6 different angels out on the battlefield. And on my second book, I actually used a picture of a real angel on the back cover of it. So, I have actually seen 3 different angels.
In front of you?
In front of me.
Wow.
Yeah. No, they really exist. They're there.
Yeah. See, for me, I've been doing, a little background for me, I've been doing this show for, we're in our 6th year of doing it. And as I tell all my listeners, I'm not an expert. I'm not a ufologist. I'm not a paranormal researcher. I'm kind of a researcher's researcher. I love to have people like you come in and talk about your experience. And I've had a few things happen, but I can honestly tell you, Barry, the few things that have happened have been nothing. They've been very inconsequential. Maybe something did that. Maybe something did not do that. You know what I'm saying? And I guess, it's the old terminology, maybe, watch what you wish for, you may get it. But I am very open to it. And I know a lot of people that are very open to it. And nothing seems to, sometimes, I don't know, I guess, I'm talking in circles. I would love to see some of these things. I'm not afraid of them. They interest me. And maybe that's why I don't see them, is because I look at them more as a research type thing and an interest. And maybe I need to take it past that level.
You have to be in a place where you have a lot of activity. About 3 weeks ago, we were doing a session. We had 3 guests come in, and I was taking them back to do a channeling session. Mm-hmm. We start to walk back the aisle to the room, and I see a ghost go in front of me. And it was very quick. Things happen very, very rapidly. You have to learn, what you're looking for. The spirit went very quickly in front of me, and I said, "Did anybody see anything?" And one of the ladies said, "I just saw something go in front of me." I said, "Well, you just saw a ghost, and that's not a bad way to start a paranormal session, is to see a real ghost." But, it'll happen very rapidly. It'll happen out of the corner of your eye. A lot happens to different people, and they just simply don't understand what's going on. They may feel a temperature drop. They may feel the hair stand up on the back of your arms or the back of your neck from energy. That's when you have a spirit in close proximity. I've had a lot of people send me a lot of photos. I've looked at different videos. I've seen some videos that actually kind of are a little scary. I've seen some shadow type people that things that appear to lurk in corners and stuff. Well, that's because they're bashful. Spirits are bashful. I have 2 videos posted on YouTube on my channel on YouTube of shadow figures. In one of them, the shadow figure leans over and looks in my camera and pulls back. And the other one, you can see him go the whole length of the room. So,
have you ever had any of these ghosts, just for the sake of the conversation, have they ever talked with you? Have you ever heard, you heard the sewing machine, but have you ever been able, because I have heard of people that have said they've been able to actually have vocal conversations.
I'm working on that. Now, I receive messages. Mm-hmm. Most people will receive messages. Sometimes I can't tell whether it's my idea or whether it's being put in my mind by the guides.
Right.
I mean, we're that close right now. But I have had instances where I have physically heard the voices. I was out on the battlefield one night. It's pitch dark. I'm out by myself taking photographs, and I'm down a special area of the battlefield where there's a wooded path, and it goes down to this stream where they'd taken the wounded and dying, and it was a Confederately held position at the time. And I always go down this trail. And on this particular night, I start to go down the trail, and this voice loudly in my head says, don't go down, don't go. And at the same time, I feel this cold fear in my stomach, which I don't feel out there. I'm very comfortable out there with them. I turned, went 50 feet, and this big tree falls right on the trail where I would have been.
Really?
So that voice on that particular night saved my life. So, yeah, every once in a while I can chat with them.
Interesting. Very interesting. Did you go back home after that, or?
No, just kept taking pictures.
Kept taking pictures and proceeding forward.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, no. If you got faith in them,
Yeah. Now let's. We got a lot of things we want to cover tonight, but if people are in the Pennsylvania in your area there, if they're on the East Coast, and again we get a lot of listeners that listen to our show through the online link. It's called Golden Lane Art and Antique Gallery, and it's in the town of New Oxford, PA. How far is that from Philadelphia? Or
it's about an hour and a half from Philadelphia, but it's only 8 miles from Gettysburg. It's right on Route 30, which is the main through route. It's a great little old town.
So if you go to Gettysburg, make it a point to stop in the shop and check it out.
Yeah, tell me that you're coming. Mm-hmm. I have cameras set down in the basement. I have permanent cameras and TV screens. I can turn off the lights and watch them live time anytime you want to see them in the basement.
Really?
So I show them to people all the time, and it knocks their socks off.
Walking around, floating around, moving around?
Floating around.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes we'll pick up a shadow figure. Mostly it's orbs. But, I mean, a lot of people are going to tell you that orbs are not spirits. That's a bunch of crap. I can go down in that basement, and I can hold my hand out and ask for an orb to sit on my hand, and you'll watch on the TV screen, and an orb will come up and sit on my hand. I've had them do loops when I ask them to do loops, and I can usually tell. Many of our guests who come in have got spirits with them, family members, and I can generally get the orb to identify that it's with a person that's sitting in front of the cameras. So I can do intelligent interaction any time of the day down there with them. With
the orb, again, can you physically see it, or do you have to look at it through?
Sometimes I can see it. But generally I have to look at it through the infrared.
When it's there, can you sense there's something there?
Oh, yeah. I can feel the energy and the coldness of it, sure.
Really?
Absolutely.
Now, one of our listeners who lives in the Pittsburgh area, she, a faithful listener, she has an interest in orbs and has done a lot of research, and I think she's still listening tonight. I think she's still online listening. One thing that we talk about orbs, you always, associate that with the paranormal.
You just had an orb going back of you.
Did I?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, not wishing to change your train of thought, but it just went by.
Now we've been coming from it. So, these orbs, people talk about the orbs being related to the paranormal, but we're now starting to see ufologists are starting to come out saying that they believe that there could be an interrelationship to extraterrestrials, maybe a craft of sorts. Sky, who's done a lot of research, she talks and has asked a lot of questions about orbs that change colors, and the changing of colors, does that signify something.
A changing of energy levels with them. I have, in my first book, I actually show transitions where they go from, I have one that goes from a neon blue to a light emitting, clear light emitting, and I've got all kinds of photographs showing how they change and do transitions.
They do, but do you know, when they change colors, though, do you think the mood changes?
No, I just think, I don't think the color has anything to do with mood. I mean, I've got photographs of every color you can think of these guys, and I have green ones, I have red ones, blue ones.
Do you think they're spirit beings? What are they?
Those are the spirit beings. That's the personification of the spirit. That's the energy. The most efficient energy is a round ball, and that's how they are most of the time. I have pictures of orbs with dogs in them.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I have a great picture of an orb, has the head of the dog taken on the battlefield, and it's in the exact spot where the 1st Maryland Confederate lost their canine mascot.
Really?
He's actually a very famous dog in the state of Pennsylvania, and I have a picture of him.
Huh. So I had just talking about the afterlife, and I have a little cat that I had she was 23 years old, going to be 24 years old.
Wow.
We just lost her a month ago.
Oh.
Yeah, it about killed me, you know.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And just the neatest cat, because she was more like a dog than a cat. She would come to you just like a dog. She had just like an amazing personality, you know. And she actually, we didn't want to. She kind of went from doing really well to downhill in about a week, not even. And she hated vets. So, you know, my wife and I, we were so concerned that if things got really bad, because, I mean, every day she was failing. She could barely walk, and, you know, but she still, like, cleaned her face and stuff. You know, it was touching. And she did pass away at home, and we didn't have to have her euthanized, and we didn't want to do that. But yet I wasn't going to allow her to suffer, you know. And I was hoping to see signs from her because of our closeness, but never. And I've been looking, but you know, never get anything.
You will later tonight.
Cool. I do, because I would.
Maybe I know something you don't at this point.
Because you know, it just we would you know, just it would be good to get a sign, you know. And my wife gets a lot of signs. But you know, it's good. You know, it's.
Well, one thing you can rest assured of is animals have souls. They're not like the human soul, but they're very, very similar to the human soul. Animals reincarnate. They make their own decisions on reincarnation, just same as we do.
Are they? Can an animal's soul be a human?
No. No. The human soul's moved ahead. You'd never go back.
Do animal souls ever move forward, or are they kind of in their own zone?
I think they're in their own zone. I haven't really. There's one area that I have not as yet pursued, but I am in the process of starting to write a book on the souls of animals and their reincarnation.
Yeah, well, because I mean, they're so innocent. They're so, you know, obviously you have pets. They're just, you know, and especially after 22 years. I mean, that's it's like a kid.
Oh no. We had a wonderful cat, passed about 8 years ago, and his spirit comes back to us, and we can tell it. We have actually had instances where we've watched him walk across the mattress in our bedroom. You can see the indentations of his feet. He still sleeps with Connie sometimes.
Really?
And a real quick funny story.
Sure.
We have actually been able to communicate with him. We went on the channeling board, and we do this quite a bit with clients now. Every night when we used to have him, he would always get between the two of us, and he would never fail. The little idiot would put his nose in her face and his butt in mine, and my nose would, and you get that hair in your nose, and it would tickle. I'm sure any cat owner knows what I'm talking about.
Oh yes.
So still, quite often when I go to lay down, we'll go to bed, and all of a sudden my nose will start to tickle the same way it would do it when he was alive. Yeah. And I'll mentally say, Bodie, get your butt out of my face, you know.
Right.
So we're channeling with him. We're talking to him the other night on our channeling board, And I said, Bodie, is that you that's making my damn nose tickle every night? And he says, it is. Ha, ha, ha. So, yeah, his spirit comes back. The spirit of your animals will be with you. It's some of the most comforting thoughts you can have. Yeah. But they know exactly what's going on back here.
Do you think that other animals can see things? Do you think animals see things that we don't see?
Absolutely. Because what you're generally seeing, spirits are generally visible in the infrared spectra. Animals see the infrared spectra. That's how they see at night.
Right.
So they're seeing, when I have my full spectrum camera on, I'm seeing what an animal sees at night with night vision. So if you're seeing a spirit come through in your night vision, that's exactly what the animal's seeing. They're seeing it all the time.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know that we still have 2 dogs and one cat. And now that the older cat is gone, the younger one is definitely now the chief. She's taken, she's instantly moved in and taken over the chief's spot, which that's okay. But it is strange that sometimes, the dogs will be in the living room and they'll both look at the same time. Their heads will move and they'll be looking at something. And it's like, I was asking, what are they looking at?
Well, they're looking at the spirit. They're seeing it.
Yeah. And sometimes the cat that passed on, she was very, all animals are different. Everybody loves their own animals, and it's just like their grandkids. I got the cutest granddaughter, and by the way, I do have the cutest granddaughter, but other kids are, people like to brag about their animals and their children and stuff. But this cat was so wise, so very wise, and did things that other cats just don't do. Boy, she every now and then she would pick up on something. And, we would just, you just know I could never see nothing, but you know that she was looking at something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm going to tell you another real quick story about this. Yeah. We're channeling the other night with our cat, and he was a Tonkinese, which is a, cross between Siamese and Burmese.
Right. Uh-huh.
So we have a dealer at our store that has ceramic cats, and he has got a bunch of cats that look like Bodie used to look like. Mm-hmm. So Connie says, Bodie, have you seen the cats that we have that look a lot like you? The answer comes back, yes, but their eyes are a different color. Now, think about how aware that spirit has got to be, that he's been in the store and knows that those cats' eyes are different colored. Yeah. This came right off the channeling board.
Yeah, our cat that passed, she had yellow eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Very different than any other cat's eyes. Very, very yellow. She had a little head. Her eyes were a little big, so she was a little unique looking, And boy, she'd pick up on something, and But like I said, I was just glad we were so happy that we didn't have to put her down. One thing that did happen, and I'll share this, and we got a commercial break, and then we'll talk more about your stuff. Is when she passed away, she was in the back bathroom, and she really liked it back there because it was kind of tight, and it was just comfortable for her. We had rugs and everything in her, and I went and checked on her at 8:30 on a Saturday night. This happened, and she was still moving around. I could tell she was in distress. She really was, but I could tell that she was tiring, And I kept the light down real low, and I'd check on her. We had a thunderstorm that would move through. And anyway, at about 8:45-ish, this light flashed in the window. Okay? Now, this light was, everyone would say, it was just nothing but lightning. But this light flashed like you wouldn't believe, the brightest light I ever saw flash. And the dogs and the other cat were in the living room at the same time. And my dogs, when they see lightning, they run. They didn't run. They just sat there. The light flashed in a very close, like almost at the window. Mm-hmm. And then I went back a few minutes later, and she was gone.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I believe that somebody came to get her.
Oh, we channel spirits all the time that have come back to help people pass.
Yeah. All right, everybody, welcome back to Fringe Radio. Barry and Connie Strohm are here tonight in the studio, and again, it's an honor to have you both here tonight and talk about your work.
Yeah, it's not hardly work. It's more of a calling right now, but it's when you get involved with this stuff, it kind of comes to you, and it's really a lot of fun just trying to understand all the miracles that God's put on this earth around us. It's phenomenal.
So let's talk about let's talk a little bit about some of your books.
Okay.
What was your so now again, you're kind of the I don't believe in this craziness. I don't maybe want to get involved with it. You buy your building, things start happening, your interest sparks. Now obviously you're fully committed to this. What's your first book that came out to talk about all this?
Well, the first book that I wound up writing was called The Haunting and History of the Battle of Gettysburg. I was born in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and all my life I was drawn to the battlefield over there. That was a big deal for me on weekends. I'd have my parents take me to Gettysburg. So it was just always a very, very strong attachment with me to the battlefield. So I wound up publishing about 220 of the ghost pictures that I took and wrote a short history. But what makes my book unique is I write a short history about the spot and then show actual paranormal photography from that spot.
Gotcha.
So it takes a long time to put a book like that together because the ghosts don't exactly pose for you when you ask them to do it.
Right. They kind of do it on their terms.
Exactly. Yes.
Interesting. Speaking about Hershey, just a little side note. I'm a one thing that we talk about on this program a lot is I have a lot of Titanic experts on this show. I love Titanic. I'm fascinated with Titanic. But Hershey was supposed to cross the ocean on the Titanic, and 2 days before he was supposed to go, he had a meeting to go to, and he never got on the ship.
Yes, time wasn't up.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. They said that and those were some of the little unknown facts, that there was some famous people that he never boarded the ship.
Yeah. No, my mother actually worked for him.
For Hershey.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for Milton Hershey.
Interesting. Very interesting. Did you know that about Titanic, though?
No, I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah.
That's cool.
He was there in Southampton. He was going to get on. He was there. He was in Europe at the time for vacation or what have you, and was supposed to come. Was going to take the Titanic, be on the maiden voyage, but some business meeting, something came up, and he had to forfeit his tickets. So,
lucky him.
Lucky him. Yeah. So, what was the next book then? What was after the Gettysburg thing? Obviously, all your photography work that you did.
Yeah, we got all the photography. Basically, a lot of the photography went into that book. And then as we started to move along, we became involved with direct channeling with the spirits. As it turned out, I now have over 400 hours of talking with the spirits on the other side. So we've gained an awful lot of information. So the title of my second book that's out there is Afterlife, What Really Happens on the Other Side. And it's based on what the spirits have told us it's like over there.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool.
You're bored, and matter of fact, that was one of our listeners sent in a question that talks about the board. Red, who is one of our listeners from the UK, listens to our show every Saturday night. He's there. He said, Barry talks about a channeling board. Is this the same thing as a Ouija board?
No, totally different.
Okay.
What we've done, we were actually taught channeling by some friends of ours out here in Salt Lake City. Kay and Doc Kivett, who also live up in the Park City area, have been channeling for 30 years out here. And their father actually designed a board. What you find is it's a round board, and it has a glass surface. And it has the numbers and letters and a couple basic messages on it. But what we did is we actually asked the spirits to help us redesign the board to exactly the way that they wanted it. So they come on, and we'd open a channel with the guides. They'd tell us, hey, well, we'll take this message off. We don't need that. Let's move this over here. So our board is actually totally designed by the spirit guides themselves. And in addition to it, we ask them to give us a prayer of protection to use. So the guides even gave us a prayer, which we fasten on the back of our boards, and we also repeat that prayer before we start every session as protection. So it's what we use. It's nothing like a Ouija board. It has glass, it has a glass surface on the board. We use a lubricant on it, and then I actually have got hot poured quartz crucibles that we use, and two of us will put our fingers on this crucible, and we'll ask the questions, and this thing will fly around and spell out the the words and the names. If anybody has an interest in watching, I have a couple short sessions on my one website, ghostsofgoldenlane.com. You can click on there and actually watch a couple of our sessions and see how fast it moves. You'll be amazed. It's an incredible thing.
Have you ever had times where it doesn't work or stuff doesn't come through?
We have only had very rare times that happened. One night we had guests that had misled us to come into the session, and they were actually doing some dark side stuff. And if there's any evil involved, the guys just simply move off and protect you. And that night we sat there, and the darn thing wouldn't move. And as soon as we had this happening, we realized what was going on and just ended everything.
Interesting. Red writes in and says, how do we encounter the ghosts of dead sailors who perish under the waves? Do we have to visit the ocean floor to meet them?
No. They're in the same. They're all together. They're all together up there. What we do is we actually request a spirit by name, and it's an amazing thing. You'll request it, and we have an RST that stands for rest. You'll see the glass. They'll move it over to rest. You'll wait. And it's like they got this paging system in heaven, and all of a sudden it'll come the spirit that you've asked for. I mean, it's.
So do these things move on their own?
I have actually watched the glass move on its own without anybody putting their fingers on it. But what the standard procedure is that they come through your energy. So you have two people, and it combines energy and it makes it move. But it can literally move faster than we can take notes.
Really?
Yes.
Interesting. You did talk about the bad side, the bad things. Are there bad things out there?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When we started this, one of the very first instructions the guides gave to us was never invite evil. If you ask for evil, you are opening the door for it. Right. And the night that, we came in, that night I told you about when the board wouldn't move, the next night we tried just to see what went on. And then they basically said that we protected you from that because they were asking for evil to come through. So there was a protection there built in because of.
Yeah, I've read over the years. I've read different articles. I saw a program. I don't remember what it was now, but was about this gentleman who really had some bad luck in his life, and he actually wanted evil to come into his life because he had so much bad luck. He figured there couldn't be anything worse than bad luck. And when he essentially, as he called it, and he said, I can't define it as this, but he said, I sold my soul to the devil is what he did. And he said all of a sudden he had all fully documented women, beautiful women, come into his life, and he was not that great of a looking guy. He had business deals that just literally came to him. I mean, they came to him. Mm-hmm. And he couldn't believe like what was happening, how things transpired, how they transitioned, and so quickly how they transitioned. And after a while, he realized that while it was nice having attractive women in his life, and it was nice having money that he never had, he had a brand new home, cars, business was. I mean, it seemed like the more he asked for, the more it gave. But then in time, he realized that this is just not right. It doesn't work this way, And and when he started to question why it worked, what was going on, more horrific things ended up coming back into his life. Again, long story short, I know I'm babbling a little bit, but it took such an effort to get that away from him and to get it out of his life. It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
Where people would say, well, no, that's great. I've got women falling, or I got guys falling all over me, and I got money that I can't spend fast enough. Excuse me. And you want rid of it. And he just knew that it wasn't right. And it wasn't normal. And the effort it took to get rid of the bad. And the program went on, and the documentary went back on after a long time. He got back to normal, and just a normal everyday guy. He kind of just working for a living and stuff. But I've read about a lot of cases like that where people they sell their souls. They're willing to to, and I think with him was after he was given all of this money, power, what have you, then whatever gave it to him was now requesting things of him. Now it wanted its, whatever it was, now it wanted its payback for it. Mm-hmm. There was it wasn't a freebie. There's a reason why it was done.
Oh yeah. When you go off of your karma path like that, there no good will come of it.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I think sometimes we kind of sit there a little bit and sometimes maybe I don't know how many times, I can't say I'd sell my soul to the devil, but there's been times when you go, geez, why can't life be a little bit easier and, maybe take the easy route? You want to take a quick call?
Sure.
All right. Caller, good evening. Welcome to K-Talk. You're on with Barry.
Good grief. Is this Pat?
Yes, it is. How are you, Harv?
Hey, I have come to a conclusion from listening to your shows that we are in charge of our life.
Yeah.
I think that every time I get weak, then something takes over on me. But as long as I stay strong, as far as, I think that God, whoever that is, he gives us the mandate to take charge of our lives and not give up just because we only got 90 years or 100.
Right.
And I dig you, brother.
Well, I think...
I'm glad you're...
Yeah, I think that, maybe we always look at it from... I mean, a lot of people look at it from a monetary point of view or a possession point of view. I don't either.
Yep.
I did at one time, but not anymore.
Yeah, sure.
Let me rephrase it a little different for you. God gave you free will and God gave you an ego. And free will and ego is what gets most people in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, the free will, I don't let my ego dictate my free will.
Yeah, well, you got to keep it under control.
That's tough.
Oh, I know.
That's why you got a show.
And you don't, no.
You're damn right, hot ass. I love you so much, bro.
You know what the definition of a smartass is, don't you?
Harvey?
No, that's a guy who can sit on an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is.
All right. Say again. I missed it.
I said the definition of a smartass is a guy who can sit on an ice cream cone and tell you what flavor it is.
Wow. That's kind of brutal.
I know.
I love you so much.
It's all the cough medicine, man. Hey, you guys are doing a great job tonight. Well, thank you. It's Barry that's here. He's bringing the good spirits in for me.
Well, you guys got the kryptonite, and you also got the Superman. So I guess it's a push.
Yeah. All right, take care, brother.
Thanks, old kid.
All right, be good. Bye-bye. It's one of our faithful followers, Harv. He's got some nights he can he's got strong opinions about things, and that's good. I mean, he has strong beliefs about things, and he's a good guy. He's one of the good guys.
Yeah, well, we all come in with a life path, and then your generally ego and free will gets in the way and messes things up for you. So you've got to be able to control yourself and keep on the path that you were sent here to be. And then once you do, then you're on a karma path, and that's where you'd like to stay.
Yeah, and it's easy sometimes to fall off the path. I mean, and maybe I shouldn't even say it's easy. Sometimes it's hard to stay on the path. Sometimes you feel that life can. Sometimes you feel like life can really. throw some tough curveballs at you.
Oh, terrible curveballs. See, the terrible part and the hard part to learn is that we're back for a learning experience. Mm-hmm. And the soul has got to undergo some terrible experiences in order to understand everything. So I'm a huge believer in reincarnation and can actually historically prove my prior lives. So your soul comes back in different bodies and different senses, and you actually have a preordained learning pattern that you're supposed to learn on this side. Mm-hmm. And it's possible that the next 10 lives can be planned out for you. And you have to experience terrible grief in certain lives, terrible joy in some, but it's all going to be different. And your soul's got to go through all this, and it's a huge, long process of learning until your soul progresses, until you become a oneness with God, is how they describe it.